Hey ho, fellow armchair Imagineers. This is just a really off the cusp thing that I decided to do just because I was bored sitting around waiting for the debate. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little tier list. We're going to do a little Spielberg tier list, if you will. And of course, we were just wrapping up with the sixth season of Spielberg Month on the main channel. And I mean, I'm literally just doing this Tyler Linder channel. It was like my channel before the So You Want to Be an Imagineer channel. I'm just posting stuff on here mostly just to do more streaming stuff. But I am thinking that this stuff is probably going to go into a Patreon wall at some point once we do have the 1,000 subscribers. I'm just kind of waiting for that to happen. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and pull up this tier list. Spielberg is obviously one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. Not necessarily. I mean, it's funny because like when you think of great directors nowadays, you think more of kind of like the auteur style. Like, like for me, I lean into like a Wes Anderson or someone like that, or not to be a fanboy, but someone like Nolan, Paul Thomas Anderson, Del Toro. They all have very signature styles, and Spielberg does too. But the interesting thing about Spielberg is that his style is kind of all over the place. His style kind of applies to all genres, and that's what I find so fascinating about his filmography. So I'm going to do my very best to not just have all the iconic stuff in the S tier, because having done Spielberg Month, one of the things that I really do appreciate about the project is just being able to kind of like go into the deeper lore of Spielberg, the deeper cuts, the kind of the things that aren't necessarily the most famous Spielberg movies, and really still kind of marinating on his style a little bit. So with that in mind, let's get right into the tiers. First one is Jurassic Park. I mean, I said I'm not going to be basic with this, but I got to put Jurassic Park in S tier just because it's Jurassic Park. It's me. Next one, I don't even know what is this one. Hold on. I can't even tell what this one is. It's you know what? I don't even know what this one is. I don't recognize that poster. Is it the Sugarland? Yeah, it's the Sugarland Express. I'm sorry. I have actually not seen Sugarland Express, so I'm going to leave that off for now. Lost World, D. I do not like the Lost World Jurassic Park. It's one of my least favorite Spielberg movies. Big disappointment, big step down. I think even if he was not all that passionate about it, it was still just kind of like the storytelling just wasn't there. What's next? We have 1941, another one I haven't seen. Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is an interesting one because for me, it is my personal favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. Not necessarily the best, but definitely my favorite. So I'm going to put Temple of Doom for now in B. Yeah. A. I can't resist, guys. I know Last Crusade's going to go in B, so. All right, Warhorse. I like Warhorse a lot. I think Warhorse is really underrated, but just in the grand spectrum of Spielberg films, it's probably going to go into B. All right, now Bridge of Spies. I think Bridge of Spies is easily one of the best modern Spielberg movies. I think it's probably his most relevant movie of the 2010s. And with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and might move it down based on what else comes. Gonna have to put it in A tier for now, right behind Temple of Doom. All right, Close Encounters is a tricky one. It's a super personal movie for Spielberg. One of his first really big, I feel like Close Encounters was one of the Spielberg movies that really cemented him, right? Like it really kind of proved that he wasn't just a a gimmick of a filmmaker with Jaws. Close Encounters. I'm really mixed right now. I think for now I'm gonna have to put it in A. I'm tempted to put it in S though, just because of the impact it had. Okay, the Post. I'm not a big fan of the Post at all. I really don't think it barely feels like a Spielberg movie. It's better than The Lost World as far as a movie goes, but I'm still gonna put it down in D. It's not a D movie, but just for Spielberg, it's just not great. All right, Empire of the Sun. Now, here's where it gets tricky because I feel like a lot of the Spielberg stuff is going to kind of fall into the A tier. I just feel like Empire of the Sun maybe has a few too many pacing issues. It's a great film. I don't necessarily think it has a lot of impact. And I don't like it as much as I like War Horse. So I think I'm going to have to put it down in the B tier. Jaws. I mean, you said, I said I wasn't going to get predictable with this, but Jaws has got to go up into S tier. It's iconic. It made Spielberg. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. F. It's easily the worst Spielberg movie that I've seen. Okay, The Terminal. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, I don't like The Terminal that much, but it's definitely a step up from The Post and The Lost World, so I'm gonna put it in C for now. Okay, Munich. Munich, I respect more than I actually enjoy. So because of that, I'm gonna have to put it towards the bottom of the B tier, but I respect the hell out of what it's going for. All right, you know what? I'm sorry, guys. The S tier is pretty obvious at this point. It's E.T. What are you gonna do? It's E.T. What the fuck are you gonna do? Really? I gotta put it in S tier. Lincoln. I have recently rewatched for Spielberg Month. It's going in the A tier. I think it's one of Spielberg's best historical movies. It's very understated. Some of the all-time great Spielberg performances. I mean, one of the things about Lincoln that makes it so great is it's not only has the Daniel Day-Lewis performance, but it's also got Sally Fields and Tommy Lee Jones is just super rock solid supporting structures in that movie. You know what? I'm gonna have to put it above Temple of Doom, just because I feel like it's more. I'm gonna have to let's bump Temple of Doom down to B tier as well. This is where this is where I really start to second guess myself, guys. Oh boy. Nah, Temple of Doom is below Lincoln, but I still think it's A tier. Okay. Yeah, Last Crusade, I'm not really that big of a fan of. It's easily the Indiana Jones movie I watched the least, and if I'm being honest with you, that probably includes King of the Crystal Skull, just because King of the Crystal Skull I'll throw in every once in a while just as a so bad it's good kind of thing. I feel like with Last Crusade, it basically does everything that Raiders does, but slightly less impactful and with more of a heart. But I don't know. I like the grit of Raiders. So, speaking of Raiders, I can't quite put it in S tier right now. Raiders, for me, I'm going to go ahead and put it in A and at the top of A because I definitely acknowledge how significant it is. You know what? No, I have to put Close Encounters above it for significance. Raiders, for me, is a movie where it's as I get older, it's still a damn good time, obviously, but it's definitely one of the less intellectual Spielberg movies. And I sound super pretentious when I say that, but I think one of the things that elevates Jaws and E.T. and Jurassic Park is that those three movies have deeper themes and cores and messages going on, whereas Indiana Jones is just kind of a fun time. It's a great fun time. It's one of the best fun times ever made, but still just kind of a fun time. All right. Schindler's List. I don't really, I can never really rewatch it, but I'm going to have to put it in S. For pretty obvious reasons. It's super impactful, really made a transitioning point in Spielberg's career, really was the point where it's like, okay, Steven Spielberg isn't just a blockbuster director, he's a great filmmaker. As if that wasn't obvious already. Just the question is where to place it. So here, honestly going to put E.T. at the top for right now. I have to place Schindler's List number 4 just in terms of rewatchability for me, but it's still definitely S tier Spielberg for sure. Okay. Catch Me If You Can is a lot of fun. You know what? I'm going to put it at the top of the B tier for right now. I definitely like it. I think it's more unique than Last Crusade because, like I said, I feel like Last Crusade, for all its heart, is a little derivative of Raiders, and that's kind of why Temple of Doom is my favorite out of the Andy movies, even though Raiders I have it ranked just a little bit higher just because it's way more of a, it's way more impactful culturally. Okay, we're getting into tricky territory. Tintin I'm definitely going to put above The Terminal, but I still kind of rank it as C tier. It never really drew me in all that much. I appreciate it. It's in a weird middle ground where I feel like it feels more like a Peter Jackson movie than a Spielberg movie in a lot of ways. And I know that Peter Jackson had a lot of a hand in it. So I don't know. It almost feels like the Spielberg Peter Jackson movie in the same way that Raiders feels like a Spielberg Lucas movie, right? It's just never really had much of an impact. All right, War of the Worlds. This is where I'm going to get controversial. I'm putting War of the Worlds in S tier, and I know Dragon in particular is probably just screaming right now because of that, but no, War of the Worlds is an S tier movie for me because it is very, very bleak post 9/11 Spielberg. Having been someone who was right around the age at 9/11. I was 10 years old when 9/11 happened. That imagery in War of the Worlds is incredibly impactful to me because as a little kid, 9/11 was obviously one of the big historical, it was a reality shattering event for everyone. But, imagine for me, I didn't even, the thing about that particular event is that I didn't even really grasp the significance of it until I was a little bit older, until I was in high school. So War of the Worlds did come out when I was in high school. So yeah, I don't know. I just love the imagery in War of the Worlds. I love the set pieces. I acknowledge it's not a perfectly paced movie. I acknowledge it doesn't really have the best characters. But I just think as far as sheer Spielberg world building and allegory goes, it's just a very, very rich movie, and I think it's really underrated. All right. BFG. Ooh. I'm a fan of the BFG. I am. I honestly am. I think it gets a lot more hate than it deserves because I think a lot of things people criticize about the movie are just kind of weird, goofy shit that was in the Roald Dahl book as well. So I can't put it in B tier though. It looking at those other movies up in B tier, it's not doesn't have the significant. It's definitely better than The Terminal. Not quite. Yeah, I'm gonna put it a little above Tintin just because I do think it's underrated and I do want to bump it up as much as I can. Hook. Hook is fun, but very imperfect. As far as quality goes, I think it's probably a notch below Tintin, so I'll put it right there in the C tier. I know it's super nostalgic to a lot of people, but it's nostalgic to me too. I grew up with it, but it's just Spielberg whimsy on overdrive, man. It's it's a literal overdose of Spielberg whimsy. AI. It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom for me. This movie makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. It's got a vibe. It's got a vibe to me. It's obviously it's to me, it's like it's so uncomfortable to watch for some reason. I can't even really put it into words. I had a traumatic childhood experience with this movie, for one. That doesn't help. But even watching it as an adult, it's just kind of like oppressively bleak, but also has a weird kind of saccharine overtone to it. It's like, to me, AI is like the ultimate example. I've talked about it on my main podcast a lot of times for me, where mixed tones can either be really, really good or just tank a movie. And this is a case where I just think it tanks the movie. All right, Amistad. Amistad is honestly maybe one of the most underrated Spielberg films. I just watched it for Spielberg Month this month. Can't quite put it in that A tier because I really feel like that A tier is looking really strong. It's at the top of the B tier, though. It's at the top of the B tier. I like it better than Catch Me If You Can. It's a super compelling movie. Really great performances all around. Anthony Hopkins, Matthew McConaughey, Jimon Hansu. I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of people, but just overall, just a really, really great kind of a pre-Civil War historical epic. It's a courtroom drama and the best kind of like in. It really reminds me of A Few Good Men in how much it uses the courtroom to its advantage and really kind of twists and turns the narrative. Great stuff there. All right, this next one, this black and white photograph. What is this thing? What is this thing? I don't even know what this is. Is this like just an early Spielberg movie or what? I don't know what this black and white thing is. I'm sorry, guys. Next up, we have Ready Player One, which I was looking forward to Ready Player One, but I find it kind of insufferable, honestly. It's got a couple decent set pieces to it. I really like the race. I really like the Shining sequence, but I don't know. Overall, like, I feel like it handles the characters in the book even worse than the book does, which is like not great. It definitely handles the world building a lot worse than the book does. But yeah, I'm just gonna put Ready Player One in the F. I'm sorry, guys. When Spielberg misses, he really misses. It's not as unwatchable as AI, but I definitely wouldn't go back to it as much as I would go back to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. All right, Always. Always is a very underrated Spielberg movie, but I understand why no one really likes it. I'm going to put it right behind Hook. I don't think it has a lot of cultural relevance. I think it is a weirdly kind of like very saccharine, like much like Hook. I feel like it's appropriately placed right there where it's a mix of tones, but it's very saccharine, very sugary sweet in the execution. So with Always, yeah, Always is going to have to go into C tier, but I do like Always quite a bit. Okay, Color Purple. Now, I haven't seen Color Purple, so I'm just going to rank it based on significance. I think it's definitely the most significant Spielberg movie that I haven't seen. And based on that, I'm placing it all the way up here in the A tier because it was really the first Spielberg movie that was just all drama, like all historical drama. It was kind of the blueprint for Schindler's List in a lot of ways. So I'm very excited to see Color Purple next year for Spielberg Month. My hype for that movie's kind of been building. All right, next up we have Saving Private Ryan. I got to put it in S tier, just because, like I said, I promised that we weren't going to do all blockbusters in the S tier. It's going to be in the lowest of my S tier movies. The only thing I have against Saving Private Ryan is it blows its load super early on. Like, you get that Normandy battle right at the beginning. Nothing comes close to being as captivating as that throughout the rest of the movie. That being said, it's still great character work. I still really prefer Dunkirk over this movie as far as a war movie goes. I really prefer Dunkirk's just full-on immersion, like where Dunkirk, basically the whole thing feels like that opening set piece from Saving Private Ryan. And maybe not quite on the same level of just gut-wrenching, like obviously there's not like 24/7 violence in Dunkirk like there is in the Saving Private Ryan, where it's just an all-out assault. But Dunkirk holds that level of suspense. Whereas Private Ryan does have a lot of downtime, but it's also got great characters. It's got a great twist with the Private Ryan character. Tom Hanks, of course, the iconic "Earn It" line, which I feel like is Dragon and I have got a lot of use over that in the years leading up to in the years that we've been doing this. So, all right, Minority Report. Minority Report is a super solid movie. I'm gonna have to put it at the top of the A tier, at the top of the B tier. I'm tempted to put it into A tier. I really am tempted to put it into A tier. I just don't think that the three acts flow together as much as they should. I think all the movies up in A tier are kind of perfectly structured three-act epics in their own way. Minority Report has a little bit of messy storytelling in it, but damn if Minority Report isn't captivating. And I feel like Minority Report and War of the Worlds just really go together as kind of like the post 9/11 Spielberg sci-fi duology. Like I really feel like they're kind of like mirror images of each other in a lot of ways. The only reason I have War of the Worlds up a lot higher than Minority Report is, like I said, storytelling wise. I feel like while War of the Worlds does have a few wonky moments, like the Robbie stuff, I've never been a fan of with War of the Worlds. The ending I don't really care for. I just think War of the Worlds is just such a more streamlined narrative, and it's a movie that's very much built on its set pieces, and in that way I feel like it really, really just hits the ground running and never lets up. Whereas Minority Report has a ton of interesting set pieces and a great aesthetic, really fascinating world building. I just feel like storytelling wise, it's a little bit start and stop. There's a few storytelling detours and alleyways that we kind of go into. So that's my distinction there. And lastly, Duel. I have not seen it yet, but I'm going to place it up in this tier list. You know what? I'm going to put Munich down and C. I respect Munich, but it doesn't really speak to me personally, like I said. And I'm going to put Duel in B just because I really feel like Duel was like the very start of Spielberg. Like, not like Sugarland Express gave him attention for, the techniques he used, but Duel was like the start of what we come to know when we think of Spielberg, like how he characterizes things, how he shoots suspense. I'm really excited to get into Duel, but yeah, I have not seen it yet. That's going to probably be in next year's Spielberg month. All right. That leaves these four movies, which, like I said, I really don't know what this black and white one was. I wish I did. Four movies I haven't seen: 1941, Sugarland Express, Something Evil, which I don't even know much about that one. But this is the main one. This is the main tier list, and I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty happy with this this tier ranking. So, you know what? I'm actually going to do a little bit of a rigmarole here where I'm going to switch Jaws up to be number 2, but I'm going to switch Schindler to be number 3. I don't really want to have all those blockbusters like right in the row at the top of it. Schindler I'm probably never going to rewatch, but it's just the significance of it can't be overstated. So anything else? I mean, no, really, like the movies in my F tier are very much just movies that I kind of like have a viscerally, you know what? Actually, if I were to swap it out, like I honestly am feeling more easy on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull than I thought I would. And Lost World is just an iconic Spielberg disappointment for me. So there you go. And actually, the Terminal. Why is the Terminal in C? Why did it survive all the way to C? Like it really needs to go to D immediately. And honestly, probably behind the post in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Sorry, Dragon. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. So I hope y'all like this tier list. It's the first one that I've ever made. We're gonna go ahead and save the chart. And yeah. All right. Have a good one, guys.